There seems to be a lot of confusion between driving and droving. If someone wants to buy a dog from me, I ask them various questions about the type and the number of sheep that they keep. I also ask them what skill level they require from the dog, including whether they need the dog to drive. Often the answer is yes, but when I question them more closely, I find that they very often mean droving. Oh wait, driving is where the dog takes the sheep away from the handler. Lie down. Sometimes for considerable distances. It's part of a sheepdog trial and has practical uses on large farms with many acres of sometimes unfenced ground where the farmer or shepherd simply wants the dog to take the sheep back to where they're hefted. Droving is much more common. This is where the dog works alongside or a little ahead of the handler and simply pushes the sheep along a road or a track or a field. Often the handler will be in a vehicle and the dog has to keep the sheep together and help push them along. Droving is very simple to teach. In fact, all you need the dog to do is stay close to you and it should soon get the idea. Once you can flank the dog back and forth behind the sheep, you're almost there. Driving's a different proposition altogether, and many trainers dread teaching it, but they really shouldn't. I look forward to training a dog to drive. If I've reached the stage where I'm considering training it to drive, it means I've got a really good dog that's progressing well and showing a lot of promise. Don't attempt to teach your dog to drive if it isn't confidently controlling the sheep and flanking well both ways and obeying all its basic commands. Ideally, the sheep will be calm and free moving. In other words, they'll move away from the dog without panicking.
Stand. Come by.
The reason people find it difficult to teach a dog to drive is because the dog's natural instinct is to bring the sheep to us. And up until now, that's what we've been teaching it to do.
Stand.
Now, quite suddenly, we're asking the poor thing to drive them away. It's perfectly understandable that the dog should be confused in this situation, and you shouldn't blame the dog for being unable to resist bringing the sheep back to you while it learns.
Lie down. Lie.
Although it can be frustrating at times. Just be patient, there's no need to worry. Your dog will be driving soon, but I can't overemphasize the importance of giving the dog as much vocal support and reassurance as possible when you teach it to drive.
Walk up. Walk up. Good girl. Good girl. Walk up, Karoo. Walk up. Get up. Get up, Karoo. Good girl.
It's easier to teach a dog to drive if it's got some experience with droving first. If you're able to walk near the sheep with your dog close to you, driving's going to be much easier. So I recommend that you make sure the dog's a competent drover before you start teaching it to drive. Dogs usually take to walking alongside or behind you easily enough, but as I encourage the dog to go ahead of me, you'll notice it's not very happy about me being directly behind it. To avoid confusing the dog still more, I'm happy for now to stand to one side or the other, but I'm always trying to encourage the dog to be just a little way ahead of me if I possibly can. Some dogs take to it more readily than others, of course. This dog's showing signs of actually wanting to drive. See how it's happy to turn towards the sheep and push them away a little. Not all dogs are natural drivers like this one, but a dog that's working well and knows its flanks should definitely be able to drive. Little Kay here was very difficult to teach to drive. In fact, probably the most difficult dog I've ever taught to drive. She just didn't seem to grasp the idea at all. I wondered at one stage whether she'd actually be the first dog I've ever failed to teach to drive. But we won through in the end, and she's a great driver now.
Lie down. Lie down.
Mo absolutely loves driving and always has, but she wants to go too fast. She'll calm down in time though.
Lie down. Lie down.
The most important thing to remember when you're teaching a dog to drive is that it's very stressful for the dog. We're asking it to do the opposite of what its instinct is telling it to do. The dog shows the usual signs of feeling uncomfortable, licking its mouth, yawning, etc. But the classic when the dog is learning to drive is looking back at the handler. If the dog's looking back at you, it's not confident. You're close to the limit of how far away that dog can work. In fact, you're probably on the limit, and the dog's looking back because it's worried. So keep this in mind and let the dog work a little bit closer to you for a while until it builds up its confidence. Increase the distance slowly. So when you're teaching a dog to drive, give it a break every few minutes. Get it to do something it likes doing.
Walk up, get up, Pip. Away. Yeah, away. Good girl.
A little and often is the secret here. Just give the dog a short taste of driving to start with, and then for the next few minutes treat it to whatever it likes doing best. Usually it's outruns. This will relax the dog again, and soon you can try a bit more driving, but don't overdo it.
Come by. Come by. Come by. Lie down. Shh. Walk up. Come by. Lie down, walk up. Go on. Shh.
Thanks for watching this tutorial. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget you can leave comments and ask questions on the tutorials library page. If you'd like to request a specific topic for a future video, we'll cover it if we can. And be sure to tell your friends if you like our tutorials.
Good girl.
This was created, presented and produced by Andy Nicholas and Jill Watson. See you next time.